So, just before the tape ran out, we were addressing the issue of waste, and it says this court has been wrong for months to let this paperwork, time, labor, hours, dollars pile up ridiculously. Have you ever seen a National Archives building? They are monstrous, and it is this type of uselessness and recklessness that costs the taxpayers so much money in construction and in real estate costs. You know, dumb papers like this Julian paper, and dumb work like Thoman's work. Glendora's motion for default, Rule 55, Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, should have been granted months ago. Save the trees. Cost and delay reduction plan. This negligence is in violation of Congress's cost and delay reduction plan, codified as Title 28 U.S. Code Section 375. Congress said that courts should not waste time so as they do, and they should not cause the costs that they do. And the futility therein has drained 3 ballpoint pens. Glendora does not need 21 days. She is doing it in 7 days. It just came last week, April the 21st. This is April the 28th. In 7 days, I answered this Thoman Julian paper. The autism about the Reynolds defendant's default and contempt of court in refusing legal papers and court papers is timorous. Here now, I am up to my 11th hour writing this paper, and the topic is Jot Thought 2. Defendant Eacock got by in the Thoman court without ever appearing. Thoman's order was dated on June the 9th, 05. Glendora's appellant's brief in the Supreme Court, New York, is dated November 2005. They were resubmitted last week, April the 21st, 06, Friday, the very same day that Glendora received the Julian reply and the court's Rule 12 equal Rule 56. Julian has not provided a notice of motion nor an affirmation in support. He has not declared under penalty of perjury that he has told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help him God. Nor has he declared he is fully aware of the facts and circumstances. Page 40, 10 to go. The real issue is not summary judgment, it is default judgment. It is not Rule 56, it is Rule 55. Thoman and Julian have not defended against default. They are in double default, therefore. Glendora adduces this court does many things much better than the scores of other courts that she has been in, but major violations have occurred in this court and will likely have their toll. Pro se civil rights cases cannot be summarily dismissed. Glendora versus Cablevision, 1995 et al. Has Judge Lodge, that's the federal judge in the Idaho court, read all of Glendora's papers? Now in New York State, a judge has to list all of the papers that he read, and only those papers that he read. Reynolds was sued again last week in Omnibus 28. This one that we've been talking about here for an hour is Omnibus 27, the one before the one that was filed last week. Thoman was wrong to protest Cablevision, or to protect Cablevision from being sued. Now, because of Thoman, Glendora has not seen justice in Glendora versus Eacock after May 2004 to May 2006. Herculean labor, time, and dollars. Now, this isn't a fright. Alan Steiner was originally assigned to the case in Putnam, in Phillipstown, and how does he rate on habitual and constitutional lack of courage? Thoman appeared, but he did not defend. Julian has done nothing for Thoman. He has only aggravated the situation, and Thoman committed the first act of hostility. Glendora is aggravated. Toman was wrong to do what he did, and all this dirt kicked up to cover it up is not going to prevail. He should admit that he is wrong and do it over. Ecock breached contract and caused Glendora $3,000 damages. Now this half year Glendora has a beautiful signer in the Peekskill system. That's where Governor Pataki comes from, Peekskill. She is the real person that Ecock should have been. Julian, Toman have no standing in this court to make a motion for summary judgment. They are in default. Summary judgment and Rule 12 both violate Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, Rules 26 to 37, discovery. A summary judgment means no discovery. And that's Rule 26 to Rule 37 in the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Callaghy Satterley also were sued last week in Glendora's new federal court. He is also in small claims, White Plains, 2 actions along with 4 cases in the Supreme Court, Appeals Court of New York. This is Robert Callaghy, liar for hire. But this time, I don't think he got hired. I think he's kicking in the money himself. Most recently, his affidavit of service, this is Callaghy, was dated March the 16th, but the last page of his brief was dated March 17th. Affidavit of service said it was served on March the 16th, yet the last page of what was served was dated March the 17th. His service is as bad as Julian Toman. Now here is Julian's certificate of service. I think it's a washout, folks. What do you think? And look, he didn't even serve Quinn Smith, a lawyer for Callaghy and Savarino. Or no, not Savarino. Well, yeah, Savarino, but for Rifkin, Savino, Radkin. And look at his signature. Sloppy writing equals sloppy mental processes. He says that he served it on Glendora, and maybe he did, but Glendora did not receive it. And this is an affectation. Glendora demands a real affidavit of service. I want a real affidavit of service that says, under penalty of perjury, I swear or I declare that I serve blank blank on blank blank on blank blank day. And this is, I'm telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. I want a real affirmation of service. What he does here is an affront to me, and to the court, and to America. And it isn't a fright. Page 44 out of 50. Glendora closes with her affirmation that she incorporates her original complaint, the All-American complaint, as if fully stated herein. And her wherefore is adamantine. This is the wherefore of my original complaint to the Idaho Federal Court. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, plaintiff Glendora demands $180 million in compensatory and punitive damages, the costs of this action, that this court order defendants to cease and desist their law-breaking as to these actions, together with any further relief, just and proper, dated November 1st, 2005, All Saints Day, State of New York, yours in truth, and in Amor Patriae, Glendora. Without prejudice, Uniform Commercial Code, Article 1, 207, Glendora. And that original complaint, which was filed way back in November of last year, Opus 1301, took 36 hours and $55.85. And its estimated internet number was 4,230. That was on of his 27 lawsuit. Now, on the 12th hour of writing this paper that I'm reading to you now, Glendora was several hours reviewing the Toman small claims case in New York and the 10-folder Omnibus 28 case in Idaho, Glendora versus Toman et al. And she pulled many papers pertinent to the pathos, but it would cost more money than she has to include them herein. So back into their file jackets they go. Now a fortiori, with a greater force and all the more, even more certain and necessary, Glendora must be granted Rule 55 default judgment, or in the alternative, summary judgment, Rule 56 equals Rule 12. No meritorious defense. Together with the cost of this reply and any further relief just and proper, dated today, dated yesterday, April the 27th, 2006, Anno Domini, State of New York, and served today. I would like to make sure you see the protection by the common law. That's through the Uniform Commercial Code, which is a monstrosity, and it's Article 1, 2007, protects me by the common law. It's Opus 1383. It took 25 hours. It cost $86.87, and the estimated internet numbers are 4329-3 et sequitur. And there was 28 copies made, and under penalty of perjury, Glendora affirms, confirms, ratifies, asserts as valid, asserts positively that she has told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. Further, that she served these 38 pages on all defendants and upon Grisham, Julian, Quayne Smith, Contino. Service was by United States First Class Mail on April the 28th, 2006. And this is April the 28th, County of Columbia, State of New York. Glendora, this took 12 hours to write. It will take 5 hours to print it on my little desktop here. 1 hour to address the envelopes, 2 hours to collate, staple, label, stuff, and seal, 1 hour to serve, and 2 hours to read it on TV, thanks to the internet. And Julian could not even get his paper to Glendora. Now comes a prayer. To Taman, Julian. Let's start over again, folks. We couldn't quite make it, folks. We had 3-4 sentences to read you, and we couldn't make it. Because this time we ran out of electricity. Last week it was too hot to videotape outdoors. Today it's too cold. To Toman, Julian, to all you people in the Idaho Federal Court, to all you defendants, Glendora sends pulses of joy, attainment, success, accomplishment, afflatus, peace, health, happiness, vigilance, and fulfillment. Make the connection. Spend your alone time with God, the first thing every morning, and actuate your oneness with God. Amen. So be it. Solemnly ratified. Glendora, April 28th, 2006, Anno Domini. Left a couple of cut flowers. I don't like cut flowers. I want to just see them growing and doing what they have to do and living their lives. And people are always cutting flowers, bringing them to you. And anyway, I put them in water, and then when I looked at them later, why? There were 20 ants in the water. Some of them had gone way down to the bottom. Some were on the surface, some of them were on the edge. And I felt so sorry for them, because they had drowned. But I said, I'm going to try anyway. And I took a white terry cloth and cleaned everything out of the sink and put the terry cloth towel flat on the sink, and then took the vase with the water and poured out the water, and all of the ants came out, and they were all dead, motionless. And then lifted up the cloth, drained out the rest of the water, and put the cloth in the sunshine. Do you want to know, within a half an hour, 10 of those ants had revived and got up and walked away? And I watched them closely, and within 2 hours, 3/4 of them had revived and gone away. And within 3 hours, folks, every one of them had come back to life and gone away. Oh, that to me was a great accomplishment. That was as big an accomplishment as suing the international bankers, Rothschild, Warburg Pincus, Lazard Frere, Rockefeller, Lehman Brothers, Goldman Sachs. That was as big an accomplishment. This is my birthday cake. You know, I bought this at Stewart's, and I was waiting to get money out of the cash machine, out of the ATM. And while I was waiting, I was eating my cake. Then it had this little plastic spoon in it. And while I was waiting to get the cash out of the machine, a man came along and he wanted to buy something. So he took the spoon and he cut himself a piece of my birthday cake. And he put the spoon down, he took the cake, and he ate it. It was pretty funny, don't you think? And there's nobody I knew. And then we both continued to wait for the ATM machine to work. And the man took the spoon again, and he cut himself a nice great big slice. And he put the spoon down, and he put the slice on top of the cake. And then half of it came out without crumbling. And then he ate the other half of that piece. And then he decided to go to another checkout. It's pretty interesting, isn't it? What am I going to do on my birthday? I'm going to praise my mother and father all day long. And I'm going to spend all day long with them. My father died at 78, my mother died at 93. And I'm just going to think about the sweet and kind things that they did for us, for all of them. For all of us. For all 4 of us. And then I'll think probably of the things that I didn't do that I could have done for them. And I'll try to make good for that. That's what I'm going to do on my birthday. And then I think I might get quarters. And to everybody I meet, or maybe dollars. To everybody I meet on my birthday, I'll give $1. But then I don't want to meet anybody on my birthday because I want to be alone with my mother and my father. Okie doke, there's some other things to tell you. I know. Jokes. You know about the judge? He has an even disposition. He's nasty all of the time. And the salesman said to the housewife, "You will pay for this freezer with the money that you save on food." And the housewife says, "We're already paying for a washing machine on the money we save at the laundromat. We're already saving money on car fare with the car that we bought. We're already saving money paying for the house with the money that we saved on the rent." And she says, "We just can't afford to save anymore." Do you know what the man said about a heart transplant? He said, "If I ever have a heart transplant, I want the heart of my boss. It's never been used." You heard about the judge who was listed in Who's Who in America? Now he's listed in Who's Through in America. And the secretary says, I'm worried about the judge. His mind is wandering. His mind is wandering. And the law clerk says, don't worry, it's too weak to go very far. How old will I be on my birthday? Can you guess? Can you guess how old I'll be on my birthday? You stay tuned, I'll tell you. Do you know there's a town in Massachusetts named after me? Marblehead. Bill says there's nothing I wouldn't do for my brother. And my brother says there's nothing he wouldn't do for me. So we go through life doing nothing for each other. The boss was saying you have to keep your nose to the grindstone. He says, I've kept my nose to the grindstone for 25 years. And the secretary thought, gee, it must have been a beaut when he started. Is he an only child? Somebody asked this woman, a mother. And the mother says, no, but if he'd been born first, he would be. The company wrote to the man and says, we've already carried your bill for 13 months. You're 13 months overdue. We've already carried you longer than your mother did. Arthur says he's a self-made man, and his mother-in-law says it's nice of him to admit it. It's nice of him to own up to it. And Dolly says, she's never heard anybody say a word against her husband. And her mother says, no, it usually comes in paragraphs. This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at Life. 2 minutes of goodwill and good cheer and good humor brought to you by. Is your husband more assertive since he's been taking those personality courses? Yes, he is. He does the wrong thing much faster now. Folks, are you going to the opening of the U.S. Marine Corps Museum in Quantico, Virginia, November 10th this year, 2006? November 10th, Quantico, Virginia, U.S. Marine Museum. It's going to be quite an affair. You can look it up on the internet. They're going to have a good time. You know, I always wondered, you know, an affidavit is sworn under penalty of perjury. And some people will not sign an affidavit. And in fact, the dictionary says that an affirmation is made by a person who conscientiously objects to taking an oath. Did you ever hear of people conscientiously objecting to taking an oath? I have, and I never knew why. But I found out why. In the daily devotions, I was reading Matthew 5, verse 33. And Jesus Christ says, don't take an oath. Don't swear by God, don't swear by Jerusalem, don't swear by this, don't swear by that. Do not take an oath. Simply let your yes be yes, and let your no be no. And you know that's right. You give your word, you keep it. If you say you won't do something, you won't do it. Why, that all makes some sense. And I was wondering what that was. Isn't that interesting? You have a question like that, and along comes, at its own speed, the answer. I think that's very interesting. Matthew 5:33. Don't take an oath. So, that's the difference between an affidavit and an affirmation. And an affidavit has to be signed by a notary or by a person of some authority. And I got a letter here about Ramage, Mary Ramage's friend, whom she babysat for years and years ago. They moved, and he had a vehicle, and he was moving his home entertainment system from the old house to the new house, and he was going down a dirt road, and he's going down a hill, and it was icy, and the car slipped, and it went over the edge of the road and down the hill and turned over 3 times. Now that poor man, how terribly injured he was. He hurt his knee, and he hurt his ribs, and he refractured his shoulder, which had been fractured before, and the entertainment system that was in the living room and the truck went down over the bank, and it turned over 3 or 4 times, and he was in the hospital, and they called the state troopers. Now that's Franny. I'm so sorry, Frank. You didn't need that. I'm so sorry. The ice made the truck slip over the embankment. I asked Mary if I could read this to you. She said yes. This is Mary Ramage, who loves.com. .com? And .com loves Mary Ramage. Okay, I wanted you to know that. I'm going to make I think it'll be the next legal paper, number 3 out of 4 this week. I'm going to make a motion to the appeals court, Supreme Court, State of New York, and to quash the appeal of my case in White Plains Court, where Cecilia, Sawrock, Satterley, and Callaghy, instead of giving me the $5,000 which I'd won in the court, instead of giving it to me, they appealed and gave the $5,000 to court, pending the outcome of the appeal. So they appealed from a decision on a motion. Well, there's a flaw there. You can't appeal a decision on a motion. The only thing you can appeal is an order or a judgment. So, I already made the motion to the White Plains Court, and I really don't like the way they handled it, but we'll let that go for the time being. They said this has to be handled by the appeals court. So, I'll make it to the appeals court for the time being. I'll make a motion to quash the appeal and to give the $5,020 to Glendora. You want some of it? Okay, what else was there to tell you? This is from Albert LeBrun, and the truth of justice, and inside look at how A courtroom really works by written band. And Albert says that Rittenband is a crook and he should be impeached. I believe that Rittenband did some terrible things to Albert LeBrun. Okay. We threw all the announcements here. Oh, you want to see pictures? This is a picture of Glendora on Quo Vadis. There's Joe Salonia and Albert LeBrun and Arnie Engen and Glendora and Ed Whitney. We had such a good time that day. I went over to Connecticut, and this is in Bolton, Connecticut, over near Hartford. And this is a picture of Ed Whitney, the author of The Controllers, International Bankers, in Glendora, and Albert LeBrun in the museum. And here is a picture of things that you have seen on videotape in the museum. Hello, Sylvester. Suffering Succotash. And when Franklin retired from the Buffalo News as a reporter, City Hall reporter, the Common Council declared it was Buffalo, it was Franklin Buell Day. There's a chat with this Glendora on Satellite 6, WRGB General Electric for 6 years. Well, I think that was all of the things to show you. So how are you doing? Are you doing what I told all the people in the court that I hope they were doing? Spending your own time with God the first thing in the morning? Rejoicing about something every 15 minutes. Today we rejoiced because we didn't have any aerosol in the sky. Today was the most beautiful day, and it still is. It's kind of cold out there though. And rejoice about something every 15 minutes and count pure thoughts. Okie doke. Keep the courage flaming. We love you. We want you to make it. And we'll help you make it. Oh, thank you so much for taking away those 16 metal rods, whatever they were, and those 10 fireplace grates. Oh, that's good. I wanted to get a picture for you of the lower falls. They were making so much noise. You would have liked to have heard it. Water. God is great for water. Two gases combine to make a liquid. Hydrogen, oxygen. H2O. Two gases combine and make a liquid.
Been going on for 12 or 13, 14 hours already, sweeping across the globe. On this day, we gather together as God's people in all languages and all colors to praise God as our Creator, as our Redeemer, and as the one who sustains us. And so I ask that you join me in this call to worship and hear the echoes of all those others worshiping on this day.
soul, for making me whole, for giving to me thy great salvation, so rich and free.
May they be transformed into food for the hungry, shelter for the homeless, clothing for the naked, and words of good news and hope for people who dwell in the land of darkness. We pray this in the risen Christ's name. Amen. stand in a nebulous region. You stand and you cry out, Jesus, Master, have mercy on me. And Jesus' response to you is, go. You are healed. Leave here healed and go and spread the good news that God has for this world. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
folks, the South Lawn, are these sweet violets. Tiny things with darling faces looking up at you. Beautiful colors. This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at Life. And it's brought to you by a reporter asked a teacher, what 3 things do you like best about being a teacher? And she said, motivating young people, shaping the next generation, and opening up young minds. And the reporter said to the teacher next to her, what 3 things do you like best about being a teacher? And the second teacher said, June, July, and August. And Marilyn wrote on her school paper, she had to write something about colonial times and children. And she said, things were tough in colonial times. The kids had to play their video games by candlelight. What cultural contribution did the Phoenicians make? And the little boy said, Phoenician blinds. And the student was asked, well, folks, do you know how you make a Venetian blind? Do you know how you make a Venetian blind? You stick your finger in his eye. Now, the 5th grade teacher asked the class, what is an indentured servant? And the little girl replied, an indentured servant is a slave with false teeth. And if we breathe oxygen in the daytime, asked the teacher, what do we breathe at night? And the answer is, of course, nitrogen. Now, in history class, or civics class, the pedagogue was trying to explain to the children the duties and responsibilities of the Vice President of the United States. And she asked, why, children, what would happen if the President of the United States died this very moment? Who would get the job? And a girl said, a Republican undertaker. And alas, the superintendent of schools met before all of the principals and the teachers, and he said, our student body suffers from 7 dwarfs syndrome. Every 7th kid is dopey. Billy said that when he was in school, the teachers respected him. And his mother-in-law said, well, they had to. You were older. And you know, of course, that old principals never die. They just lose their faculties. And Nathan said, I don't want to go to school today. The teachers don't like me. Superintendent doesn't like me. The kids don't like me. Even the custodians got it in for me. And his mother says, you have to go to school today. You're healthy. You have a great deal to offer others. And you are an inspiration to people. And besides, you're 45 years old and the principal. What do report cards teach a parent? You don't have to lift weights to raise a dumbbell. This is Glendora, Cheerful Look at Life, brought to you by 5 or 6 times. Folks, there's a Bible passage I wanted to talk to you about. It's one of my most ardent prayers. Of course, you are one of my most ardent prayers. But this is from Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 11. Verse 6. And righteousness and the wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed their young ones, and shall lie down together with the lion. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. They shall not hurt, nor destroy. In all my holy mountain. For the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. How about that? Isn't that nice? Isn't that the way it's got to be? You and I have got to lead others to do that. Stop the cruelty. Stop the cruelty to animals. All present blessings continue. Just think of it. All living together and not destroying each other and not hurting each other. The minister in church this morning was good, didn't you think? And he's doing everything he can to help the youth. And this is his camp, church camp and retreat center. Isn't that nice, helping the youth? Looking towards. This is Camp Fowler. A future with hope. Let's send them money. Yes, let's send them money. Fowler Camp and Retreat Center, Regional Synod of Albany. This is the Reformed Church of America, the Dutch Protestant Church. Minister's name was what? Did you get it on the bulletin? Ken. His law clerk, Jeffrey Amato, and Cablevision's public access coordinator, Alyssa Amato, spat, dodged it, pitifully.
Saved message number 1 from an unknown caller. Received on Friday, April 28, 10:32 p.m.
Hello, Glendora. I just wanted you to know I was singing along with you tonight on the program. Open their hearts, eyes, open their eyes, that they shall see. And sang along with you for the Cablevision employees. So, I really enjoyed your show. You're getting better and better every week. Okay, there's a pure thought and a happy thought for you. Glendora is getting better and better every day in every way. Okay, yours truly, Zabby.
The dandelions this year are spectacular. Aren't they beautiful? And look at these little things. What are they? Grow right out of the grass. And these violets, I asked the owner of the property not to mow he was going to mow this weekend. I asked if he couldn't wait a week. Amenity. Quality of being pleasant, agreeable, civility, suavity, smoothness of social intercourse. Pat Brady, my signer in Staten Island, wanted me to be sure and show you the crescent moon. My, isn't that exciting? She told me that great big planet that rises at night in the evening is Jupiter. I love the crescent moon. See, this is a waxing moon. It'll hold water. A waning moon won't hold water. Oh, that's a good shot. Here, let's see if we can steady it more. Oh, what a great picture. We're ending this videotape. That's Caesar dog. And it's so sad. They go away and leave him and he hates it. Oh, 2 cars went away and left him. 3. What's your pure thought? God is a great creator. Amiable. Characterized by qualities of pleasantness and kind-heartedness, qualities that make a person liked, good-natured complacence, charming, agreeable, pleasant. That's what Franklin was. Everybody liked him. Okay. Good night, everybody. It's so hard to hold a camera and watch her. And I missed about 6 of them that you would have loved to have seen. The sun's right above this, the top of the picture, and of course I can't point the camera at it. But a song comes to mind. This is Devotions, the first thing in the morning. Put God first, the first thing in the morning. When I fall on my knees, with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. When we break bread together on our knees, when we break bread together on our knees, when I fall on my knees with my face to the rising sun, oh Lord, have mercy on me. This is May, folks. May. Oh, April was a sweet month, and we are so grateful. And this is my birthday, May 1st. I'm 78. and I've invited my mother and my father and Franklin. My mother died at 93. My daddy died. Peekskill Police Department. Tabat-Salaco, Peekskill. James L. Dolan, Cablevision. $9 million a year, and you can't pay Glendora the $5,020 that the court ordered you to pay her. Mayor Delfino and the White Plains Common Council. Cecilia Masterilli. Brian Hansberry, Judge, White Plains City Court. Joanne Freya, Judge, White Plains City Court. Eric Press, Judge, White Plains City Court. Sonny Katz, White Plains City Court. Mary Ann Catrona Ritz, Appellate Term, 141 Livingston Street, Brooklyn. Appellate Term of the Supreme Court, 9th Judicial District, State of New York. Glendora Plaintiff Appellee versus Cecilia Masterilli, Tabat-Salaco, and Officer Lewis. Defendants, appellants. Notice a motion to dismiss the appeal and to return the $5,020 to Glendora. Please take notice that upon the annexed affidavit of Glendora dated the 1st day of May 2006, the plaintiff appellee will move this court at a term thereof to be held at the courthouse of the appellate term of the Supreme Court, 9th Judicial District at 141 Livingston Street, 15th floor, Brooklyn, New York, on the 16th day of May 2006 at 10 o'clock in the forenoon of that day or as soon thereafter as can be heard, for an order dismissing the appeal and returning the $5,020 to Glendora. And it's signed yours, Glendora, and a chat with Glendora on 52 TV stations in 520 municipalities, including Washington, D.C. and Albany, New York. www.achatwithglendora.com. Lead people to be perfect, stop the cruelty to the animals, and stop injustice in the courts. And it's sent to Walter Sarrak and Sadly Stevens, Burke and Burke at the Pan Am Building, New York. Affirmation in support of motion to dismiss appeal and return the $5,020 to Glendora. Under penalty of perjury, Glendora pronounces, professes, avouches and avers and alleges she is telling you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help her God. Sarrak's notice of appeal includes no order nor judgment. The only attachment is the decision on a motion, December 5th, 2005. Sarrak refers to an order, quote unquote, in his notice of appeal, but there is no order. An appeal can be taken only on an order or on a judgment, folks. In other words, a decision on a motion is not appealable. What's that mean? It means that the appeal is in defect, fatally defective. A decision on an order, a decision on a motion rather, is not appealable. A decision on a motion cannot be appealed. Wherefore, therefore, and ergo, the appeal must be quashed, and the $5,020 must be released instantly to Glendora. Glendora motioned the White Plains City Court for this relief. The clerk wrote that it would have to be handled by you. This is dated May 1st, my birthday, 78 years old, 2006, Anno Domini. County of Columbia, State of New York, yours in truth, and in amor patriae, and in amor New Yorki. Opus $13.84, 6 hours and $6, and sworn to before me, and this nice lady notarized it for me. Thank you so much. Cristiano. That's a pretty name. And here is Judge Hansberry. Right here clearly it says decision on a motion. Alright, and let's see what Swarrock is appealing, and he can't appeal it. And you notice that he lies here in his notice of appeal. He said from each and every part of the order. It is not an order. And so, and here is the clerk of the White Plains City Clerk. Great one-liner. And I'm going to challenge this later. I don't think they're right about this. This type of matter is not handled by us and should be handled by the appellate court. And that's by Paul Friedman. The reporter asked the teacher, what 3 things do you like best about being a teacher? Well, 1, motivating young people. 2, shaping the next generation. 3, opening up young minds. Then the reporter asked the teacher next to her, what 3 things do you like best about being a teacher? And she said June, July, and August. Here's a pure thought for you folks. God of our fathers, whose almighty hand leads forth in beauty all the starry band of shining worlds in splendor through the sky, our grateful song before thy throne arise. The teacher asked, what cultural contribution did the Phoenicians make? And the little girl wrote, Phoenician blinds. Do you know how you make Phoenician blinds? Do you know how you make a Venetian blind? You stick your finger in his eye. Now, this is legal paper number 2 of this week and number 4 of last week because it didn't get done. May 1st, 2006, Anno Domini, Village Court of Taconic. It should be the Town Court of Taconic. County of Columbia, State of New York, United States of America, Internet, LU, and so forth. And it's the first round of interrogatories from Glendora to Peter J. Andrews. And it's people of the State of New York, plaintiff versus Glendora defendant. And Glendora says, you are hereby directed to answer in writing the within interrogatories numbered 1 through 11. Your answers are to be served on Glendora, postmarked no later than May the 15th, 2006, at P.O. Box 124, Ghent, New York, 12075, Interrogatory 1. Did Glendora injure anybody? B. Can you produce a corpus delicti, i.e. an injured body? Now, interrogatory 2. Did you prohibit Glendora from videotaping our encounter? Did you say she could not videotape on the Taconic Parkway? Did Glendora ask you what was your statutory authority to stop her from videotaping? What did you say? In full detail, what other incidents have you had as to videotaping on the Taconic or any other New York State parkway? What is the raison d'etre for not videotaping on the Taconic Parkway? And number G is reserved. We are now on page 3, interrogatory 3A. Did you pull alongside Glendora's car and slow down and stay alongside her for an extended period? Did this block the highway? Did you peer intently into Glendora's car? What was your motive? Did this endanger Glendora as to distracting her attention to safe driving? Was this driving to endanger? And G is reserved. Interrogatory 4. Are you coerced or improperly influenced in any way to arrest as many people as possible? Are you asked to meet a quota? Are you asked to meet a quota? Are you rewarded in any way for increasing the number of tickets dispersed, or for issuing more summonses than others? E is reserved. We are on page 4, interrogatory 5. You state that Glendora's registration and inspection had expired nearly 2 years ago. Why would it take the police so long to uncover the same? Does this reflect negatively upon police vigilance, alertness, briskness, nimbleness, agility on the watch? C is reserved. Interrogatory 5. Did you tell Glendora that her car insurance was paid up to date? Did you tell her that if it were not, the car would be towed off the highway? What is your statutory authority for that? Have you ever had anyone's car towed away because of no car insurance? Now interrogatory 6 on page 5. Was Glendora's driver's license clean? Were there any violations on her record? Has Glendora ever had any vehicle and traffic violations against her? Interrogatory 7. Why were you trying so hard to find an infraction driving driving along Glendora in parallel and peering into her car? Is this malicious prosecution? Was business slow and traffic scarce and you were hard put to meet a quota? Interrogatory 7. Do you think a person who has never made a claim against her car insurance in 51 years should be made to pay $400 every year regardless? Do you know how much money that is, folks? 51 years, $400? What is that? $20,000? And never made a claim? Is this a ripoff? Is this a racket? Is this a scam? B. Was the New York legislature and the governorship improperly influenced by the insurance industry, mandating compulsory car insurance? Why does New York State coerce citizens to carry car insurance when they do not choose to? Interrogatory 8. A RICO is a racketeer crime influence organization. A RICO is an enterprise where the motive is money, who force and extortion, who use force and extortion, and who commit at least 2 predicate acts a year. Is New York State's use of state police to extract excessive quantities of vehicle and traffic fines a RICO? Glendora asks the same question as to excessive surcharges by New York State on top of the municipal fines. Let me give you an example. 3 weeks ago, a friend of Glendora was fined $25 for driving a car without a front license plate. New York State added $55 surcharge to the $25 equals $80. Folks, that's what? It's more than 100%, isn't it? It's more than double. The fine was $25, the surcharge was $55. Interrogatory 9. What is the motive for New York State to coerce people to wear seatbelts? Did you tell Glendora if she were not wearing a seatbelt, the airbag could injure her? And why do you have to have airbags that will injure us? Can seat belts cause injury or death? Interrogatory 10. Why does New York State compel people to register their car? Glendora has registered her car all these years and never gained one advantage from it. Isn't it just more RICO to raise revenue? Interrogatory 11. What is New York State's motive to compel inspection? Glendora has been compelled to do inspections all these years, and nothing wrong has ever been found with her car. Now, is this more RICO? Are we a police state or a what, folks? A republic. Now I request that under penalty of perjury I declare that I have told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Dated May blank 2006, County of Dutchess, State of New York, signed Peter J. Andrews. New York State Police, Troop K, 2541, Route 44, Salt Point, New York, 12578. And I want it notarized, sworn to before me the blank day of May 2006. Under penalty, just a minute. Glendora pronounces, avouches, avows, and attests she sent a true copy of these 10 pages to the clerk of the Taconic Town Court on May the 2nd, 2006, Anno Domini. Opus 1385, 6 hours, $3, estimate. Internet number is 4333-7. Folks, the devotions this morning produce some beautiful, pure thoughts. Romans 6, verse 15. No matter what, you are under grace. Keep saying that all day long. Under grace, under grace, under grace. And how do you present yourselves to God? Present yourselves to God. And here's a good pure thought. Righteousness. Righteousness. And delivered. Ooh, that's a good one. Think about that. Delivered. Set free. Uncleanness and lawlessness. Uncleanness and lawlessness. Holiness. Ashamed? For the wages of sin is death, but the gift of God is eternal life. Here, up here, honey. Can you pick them up by yourself? Just a second, let me get more light on you. Here, way up high. It's hard to do this, folks, and hold the camera. Okay, let's take this one. Oh, look at this one. What do you think of this one? Oh, this is hard to do, folks, but I wanted you to see this for a long time. It's hard to do. Here, honey. No, up here. Up here, baby. Oh, Mary will be so pleased. She loves to look at your face. Now, she probably won't eat this piece she dropped, because she'll want a clean piece. I didn't know she'd eat them this big. Now, this is the third time today she's eaten grass. And the cow and the bear shall lie down together. What is it? What is it? What did you hear? Thing to do is to hold them perpendicular to her mouth. Okay, 3 more. Do you want them? 3 more. Oh, the little one. Okay, now let's do this one right. Let's do this one right. That's it, huh? Okay. Wait a second, Bruce. We can see the falls out of the rear window of the Corvette. Aren't they gorgeous?
What?
I'll go over the one-lane bridge. I don't know. This factory may be extant. There may be things going on in this factory.
Something's going on.
It looks like this car's parked.
Yeah.
And here's the one-lane bridge. It's so much fun. And what a...
Too bad we can't see that falls.
Yeah, this is the one. I love this falls. We can. Someday, Bruce, will go down and come up and look at it from the bottom.
Now, what do we want to do? Keep going?
Yep. Bruce and I are on our way to White Plains City Court. Glendora versus Sadley, Stevens, Birkenberg, Walter Sawrock, and Cecilia Masterilli for damages that they caused Glendora with their ignorant and shoddy lawyering, just to keep her from getting the $5,000 that she was awarded by the court. We're in Stuyvesant Falls now. Trooper Peter J. Andrews says that you can't videotape on the Taconic. I have a hard time accepting that, and I'm waiting for him to produce statutory authority. That will be on June the 22nd, the summer solstice, at West Taconic Town Court. This is a major construction project. The Taconic has always been very noticeably rough when you get to Columbia County. Just as soon as you leave Dutchess County, you feel the roughs of the Taconic. And Mr. Bruce Bergman, my chauffeur, spent his career at the New York State Department of Transportation, which was a very interesting job, wasn't it, Bruce?
Yes.
Now, you think the construction, they're doing both sides at one time, Bruce?
Well, that was, I'm not sure if that was the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I still...
This is Jackson's Corners, and we're coming to the line between Columbia County, New York, and Dutchess County. And the Taconic, you just can't beat the beauty. If ever a parkway should be videotaped, it is the Taconic. Da, 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 da. We are now in Dutchess County, and you see how smooth the road is? Isn't that interesting? Does that have to do with money? Because Dutchess County gives the state more money than Columbia County?
No, I don't think so.
I really feel like I belong to Columbia County. I feel as if I belong to Columbia County more since I brought that lawsuit in Columbia County, the Supreme Court. And that lawsuit is doing so well. I haven't read to you yet, folks, but let me just give you a synopsis, a tease. This is a tease. Bennett and Amato are in default. They were served 3 days before Christmas, given 20 days to answer, which would be the middle of January. They did not answer until February 17th. The service was in personam. The perfect service. Indisputable. I do not see how they can get out of paying Glendora $23,000. And further support of that was Callaghy, Sadley, Stevens, Birkenberg, the Park Avenue lawyers made a motion to dismiss. Glendora made a cross motion to deny and to grant her relief. And then they, on April the 28th, were to give their reply to Glendora's cross motion. And here I want to just read you their one paragraph reply out of my mind. It says, they wrote to Judge Hummel, Supreme Court, County of Columbia, State of New York. Judge Hummel, this is the last day that defendants can have their reply in. We are saying that Glendora's cross motion was so whatever their word was, frivolous or disjointed or whatever, that we have no reply to it. Folks, do you realize that that's 100% surrender? They did not defend on default judgment. They did not defend on violations of public access. They did not defend on anything. That's total surrender. They couldn't find a meritorious defense for anything. It looks good. I will be answering that. I have until May 12th to answer that to Judge Hummel, and I will be. And that's the end. That will be my sir reply. And then we wait to hear from the court. Folks, we are in Stamfordville, Dutchess County, state of New York, United States of America, Northern Hemisphere, and the Earth, in the Milky Way galaxy. Think of all the other stars like our sun, and they must have planets, and there must be people on them. Are they better than we are? Are they perfect? Bruce rejoices at 11 o'clock for the rebirth of spring. Amen.
Excuse me.
It's nothing to sneeze at, Bruce.
I turned the air on to circulate a little bit and see how that feels. It feels too cool, I'll change it.
Our next spring will be Salt Point, and that's where Troop K is, and that's where Peter J. Andrews is. His letter came from Troop K. And they have a picture of the Smokey Bear hat on their envelopes, on their return address. I read you those interrogatories, folks. It is going to make everybody very angry. But I don't care. We've got to stand up for right. We are victims of avarice in the state of New York. And my nephew gave me the big news last week that Maine, the state of Maine, is now #1 in taxation, even ahead of New York, which is #2. The teacher says in the daytime we breathe oxygen. Or this, the teacher read this on a student's essay. In the daytime we breathe oxygen. What do we breathe at night? Nitrogen. And now let's sing a hymn. God of our Father, whose almighty hand leads forth in beauty all the starry band of shining worlds in splendor through the sky, our grateful song before thy throne arise.
On the Sprain Parkway that has 44 of the pictures on display.
They have 44 of your pictures?
Yeah, they have one that features the Taconic.
Oh, how nice.
And they have one that features, well, there's lots of things.
Why don't you take a picture of that so
Well,
I
they're
can
all
see
photo
it?
collages. There's 25 photo collages and 25 individual.
And what size are they?
Most of them are about 20 by 30. They're pretty big.
Wow.
But they feature all kinds of subjects around the Hudson Valley. When I was down at the office, they sometimes give tours of the building, and they people ask, you know, where some of the pictures are, and we hadn't labeled them. So I went down and walked all through the building with a map, and we wrote out labels for each location so that
How
the guy
nice.
could describe it.
What building is that, Bruce?
Well, it's a traffic operations center. For the
In
Metropolitan
Poughkeepsie?
area. No. It's in Hawthorne area.
In Hawthorne.
Yeah. Near where the Taconic and the Bronx River Parkway.
And the public can go and see those,
well,
right?
It's not necessarily open to the public. It's a high security building. People have to have permission access to go in.
Oh, then they
because
can't
the
steer.
Traffic Operations Center is a very
Vulnerable?
yeah, well, and it's also a state police command center. So because of the two, they have high security.
In Hawthorne. What route is that on?
It's just off of when you first go
Route
south on
100?
the Taconic. Yeah, when you first go south on the Taconic, and then you reach the point where the Sawmill Parkway goes off to the right, the Taconic goes straight. The Sprainbrook Parkway goes straight because that's where the Taconic ends.
Uh-huh.
So the first exit when you're on the Sprainbrook is Route 100.
Yes.
It's just off of that.
Oh.
It's called the Hudson Valley Traffic TMC. Traffic. What would that be?
Maintenance?
No, it's not maintenance. Traffic Management Center. Hudson,
yeah.
HVTMC. Hudson Valley Traffic.
Well, glory be, they have a lot of traffic down there to manage.
Yeah.
Oh, the traffic down there
Well,
is...
there's a room in the building
Yes.
that's 3 or 4 stories tall, and they have 36 screens, and they have many, many computer desks inside, and everything is dark. And all these screens flash different areas, and they can take each screen and break it up into
Oh, yes.
9 sections,
Really?
or they can take and have all 36 screens have a giant IMAX.
My.
So it's really quite a place.
This is New York State Department of Transportation?
Part of it is. I don't know. The whole thing is owned by the state, but I don't know if it's actually Department of Transportation or something else.
How many years did you work for the Department of Transportation?
About 35.
35. Look at this, folks. Look at this. We look out through the roof. There's a hole in the roof.
There's a nice dark tint, too.
What's that?
It has a nice dark tint.
Yes, I can almost aim the camera at the sun. Folks, this is one of the prettiest spots on the Taconic. Right here. James Baird State Park and the turnoff to Poughkeepsie. There it is. Don't you think this is one of the prettiest
Yeah,
spots?
it's pretty.
The way the road
Yeah.
goes down a
Yeah.
hill, around the curve, and
Yeah.
up the hill, and the mountains in the background. I videotaped this 10 times, Peter J. Andrews.
I think the view going north at Miller Hill was probably even better.
Well, it's certainly a great view, and we will try.
It is nice having the sweeping curves at the bottom of the hill.
Yes. And Jim Dunham showed me where they had to cut around a mountain down here. A lot of it we're going to see, they did cut the side of the mountain and put the Taconic there, and of course there's no shoulder. But one of them, he says they had to go right around the mountain, and he showed that to me on the Taconic. It's interesting driving with people from the Department of Transportation. Now this is Miller Hill. The Department of Transportation did a lot of good work on this, didn't they, Bruce?
And the view is the other way. Yeah.
Yes, it is, but I was listening to you. All right, the view's the other way.
Yeah, that won a state award, it won a national award.
Oh, it did?
It won at least 2 or 3.
What, your picture?
Well, they certainly helped.
Who's the people in the state who gave the award?
Gave the award?
Who? The state award was from who?
The state award, I think, was I forget what it was.
This is the place, excuse me, Bruce, this is the place where they had to build the road around the mountain.
Okay.
Okay, excuse me, go ahead. Excuse me, go ahead.
I I don't recall what the actual title of the state award was, but it was first place. The national award was called Excellence in Design.
Oh!
And I know that was first place.
See how,
I think there may have been another award, but I'm not sure.
see how they built the road around the mountain?
They went around it and over it.
Oh, this isn't Defiance, Trooper Andrews, videotaping the Taconic. It's the belief that it is a right. And that nobody could be that Gestapo to say you couldn't
Never heard
videotape
of
it.
such a thing.
No, never heard of such a thing. Now, I'm going to rejoice. I'm going to rejoice for the Corvette. I'm going to rejoice for the beautiful Taconic. We're coming into Peekskill Hollow, and this is another beautiful spot on the Taconic. Because I guess it's that same thrill where the road curves and then goes down a hill and up a hill. That's always pretty.
Time.
Folks, this is the road to Cold Spring where the Phillipstown Town Court is, which we have in the appellate term, the Court of Appeals, County of Putnam, State of New York. And we also have them in the federal court in Idaho. And we just wrote the big paper last week. Do you remember that they were in default? They wanted a summary judgment against Glendora. And I pointed out that a summary judgment is unconstitutional. That it's a violation of due process of law, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. Well, this is where it is, folks. Over to the west on the Hudson River. And let me tell you that 9D, folks, is one beautiful ride. There's a tunnel that goes through a mountain, and it goes along the Hudson River. Route 9D going from Beacon, New York, down to...
Breakneck Mountain.
What?
Breakneck Mountain.
Breakneck Mountain is the
That's
name
where
of
the
it?
tunnel is.
Yeah? See how nice it is to have somebody from the Department of Transportation? Let me just say again, that's one beautiful ride, 9D, going from Beacon, New York, down to Cold Spring. Mountains, a river. Yeah, but he can't do it. It's a passenger vehicle. These people, they're blocking both lanes, folks, but this has gone on for years at Yorktown on the Taconic. South of the Yorktown and north of it. I don't know how far up they're going. But it's the turnoff to Mahopac.
This is very strange.
How many gears do you have?
6.
6 gears.
Oh, that's why. Because they're all the way across the road. They didn't want anybody to come zooming on to where those guys are working.
Oh, good.
The only way they could stop it is to block both lanes.
Bruce saw a sign further up the road. It said, what did it say, Bruce? Stop, slow down, my father's working here.
My dad works here.
Slow down, my dad works here.
Now what do we do?
You're very close to the Route 6 turnoff. You're going to go west that way.
Okay. This is very strange.
Okay. Okay.
On May 1st, we wish Glendora happy 78th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Glendora. And God loves you too.
I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It was a wonderful birthday.
Because it looked like they had a police escort.
They had 3 state police on motorcycles. We are now on Route 6.
I wonder if they're escorting some VIP.
You want to see a VIP, folks? Look at that sound wall. Such a big sound wall.
Sunnyside, that sounds familiar. I can't tell what they're escorting though.
Bruce says they're just see him up ahead and they're escorting.
Maybe Pataki's in town or something.
It's not far from his hometown, Peekskill.
See it up at the intersection. Turn it.
On Strawberry Lane?
Well, that's Mill Street.
Putnam Valley. The police turned on Mill Street, folks. And she's looking for us.
Look at
Mary
the dogs.
Ramage.
Look at the dogs. Upstairs.
Oh,
Isn't that cute? Look at the ears.
on that cute.
Go around and look at it through the windshield.
Oh, look at the dog over
Yeah,
here.
here. Maybe you can see it from here. When I stop at Tobler's, people take a double take when they see it. When you see his face.
Well, folks, you must live a clean life. You brought the sun out, although it's hazy. And I saw severe aerosol from the jet planes in Yorktown. It was terrible. It was like tic-tac-toe. Now it's Yorktown to White Plains, the county seat of the county of wealthy Westchester County. White Plains Courthouse and Police Station, White Plains, New York, County of Westchester. A memorial to policemen. Firemen and the judiciary. And my friend Bruce, we had a lovely ride down in his Corvette. This is Successor Trustee 1 shaking the hand of Successor Trustee 2.
Right.
Thank you, gentlemen. Daily walking close to thee, let it be, dear Lord, let it be.
I come second. No, actually I come third.
Yeah.
Let's see, folks, where did we leave off? Oh yeah, Brad and Bruce, the two successor trustees, talking about the Yankees. And we waited around. There's a young man there from Brooklyn, and he's being swindled by a car dealer or something. And
Flatbush Auto Body or whatever it was.
yeah, Flatbush Auto Body. And we helped him. And then Bruce and I sat in, and Daryl sat next to him, and I kept encouraging him that he was called to expose this racket and see that these people stop trying to swindle other people. We're on the Taconic now, or really the Bronx River going north. It's 5:45 p.m. But what shocked Bruce and myself was that the judge left the bench. Now, it wasn't Judge Hansberry, that's another thing. Judge Press knew nothing about the case. Judge Hansberry knew everything about the case. That dumb Swarrock, his name is Walter A. Sarrock, from Satterley, Stevens, Burke and Burke. He said he represents Satterley, Stevens, Burke and Burke, but he doesn't, because Satterley, Stevens, Burke and Burke is a defendant, and Sarrock is a defendant, and a defendant cannot represent a co-defendant. I will just have to write a post memorandum, I don't even want to know what this was. It was a hearing for all purposes. And all that came out of it is that we're going to hear by mail of what the trial date is. Isn't that so, Bruce?
Yeah.
Now, Bruce, what did he say? Now what did Sarrock say about jurisdiction? He said that the court didn't have...
He said the letter was sent to their New York City address, and he said, we're from Westchester.
It's the other way around. We're from New York City, and it was sent to Westchester.
Oh, it was sent to Westchester?
Yes. And what did the judge say? Judge Press.
Well, you got here, didn't you?
The judge said, you got here, didn't you? So I guess I didn't... And I said, when it was my time to speak, I said, Judge Hansberry has already ruled on the jurisdiction twice. And I don't know why this man keeps trying to overrule the judge. And I go up to the bench, and Sarrock starts yakking away, and he is the defendant. Anybody knows that the plaintiff speaks first. So the judge asked Sarrock to continue what he was saying. Is that right, Bruce?
Yeah.
And then the next thing that Sarrock said was, isn't this pretty right here? Isn't this pretty, huh? There's the Kensico Dam, folks.
Yeah, that's a little scary when you see that, because the water's all above you. Makes me think of the Johnstown flood.
Oh.
But that was in a narrow gorge. This isn't so narrow.
So then Sarrock said that Glendora had brought a motion for sanctions. And he went on about that for 2-3 sentences. And when I got my chance to speak to the judge, I said I did not bring a motion for sanctions. I brought an action for damages. Do you remember anything after that, Bruce?
No.
Okay, and then what did Sarrock say about the recording device? What did Sarrock say to the judge?
I gotta be paying attention to what I'm doing here.
Sarrock said, in another court, that Glendora had a recording device. Could you check to see if she's got a recording device? And
I can't believe he said that. No.
Why? Why is it so shocking to you? Because it's so stupid?
Because you had to be left at the door.
Yes. And Press says, I'm not going to get into that, right?
Yeah. Maybe he was afraid that if he recorded it, it would show what an idiot he was.
Yes. He's already shown that amply. What else, folks? Oh, I do believe that Press said, I'm not putting any weight on the jurisdiction issue. I believe he said that, right?
I think so.
What else can I report to you folks? Oh, this is something. I asked to hand in my papers. I wanted them in my file. How I asked the appeals court to quash their appeal and release the $5,000 to me. And Press says I'm not going to put it in there. He says that's another court, the appeals court. That's not this court. And I said, well, this is another case. And he says, particularly if it's another case. He said that, folks. Look at that beautiful tree. Another thing he said was, I asked to see my file, and he refused to show me my file. That is unconstitutional. And I'd asked the small claims court before I went into court to see my file. And the small claims court says, I can't, it's in the courtroom. So these are things I want you to keep in back of your mind, folks. Because if this thing goes sour in the White Plains City Court, I want to bring an action against them for violating my constitutional right to see my file. They cannot refuse to let you see your file no matter who has it. And if they're looking at it, they have to stop looking at it and give it to you. The file has to be available to the public. Okay, now one other thing I wanted to say. What was that? Oh, I just don't see, folks, why we were called 124 miles to go down here. For what? I think what has happened behind the scenes is that something happened to Hansberry. And they brought in poor Press, and Press was upset by that. Because he shook his head to me and he says, I got 7 trials. And I commiserated with him. And I smiled and I said, thank you. And he smiled back at me.
Maybe.
So now we're going to wait to hear when the trial is in 2007. So I'll go home tonight and sleep, and probably in the morning God will tell me the answer.
We already know that.
What? What's the answer?
Daryl.
What?
Daryl.
Oh yeah, here's what Bruce said. You want to say it yourself, Bruce?
I got too much traffic to pay attention to.
I can talk and drive in traffic. What's the matter with you? Here's what Bruce said. The reason I was called down here for 124 miles was to help Daryl from Brooklyn with this case where he's being swindled. And I did help him. I went to the clerk and I got him a small claims book that tells you what to do in small claims court. And I did help him, telling him to go to the library and look at the law books and look at the index until he found his subject, and then look up the law. And I did tell him to go pro se and do not hire a lawyer. There's a New York cop giving somebody a ticket over something frivolous.
That was probably speeding.
And I did tell him to, I told him there would be 3 options: arbitration, mediation, and a trial. And he did opt for a trial. And I'm happy about that, because that's going to be grief for the swindling defendant. And that might make the defendant drop it. You know something? That might make the defendant drop it. He didn't want to go through trial. So we are 100 miles from home. So folks, we're on the Taconic Parkway, Robert Moses Parkway, headed north out of Westchester County into Dutchess and into Columbia. It is the ugliest part of the Taconic, with much beauty in front of us. We thank Bruce. Can you imagine a man giving a woman a whole day? It was very generous and very, very appreciated.
That almost almost looks like fall foliage colors in that mountain up ahead there.
Yeah, spring foliage.
But it's got a lot of variety of color.
Bruce wants you to see this variety of color.
They say that the buds are the color of the fall foliage leaves.
The what?
If you look at the color of the buds, that'll tell you what the color of the fall foliage is.
Oh, really? That's reasonable. Folks, you want to go for a ride in the rain?
So bumpy, I'm afraid your image is going to be jumping.
Oh, where are we? Just about Salt Point. Above Pleasant Valley. On the Taconic. And remember, you're not supposed to videotape on the Taconic.
What an idiot that guy was. Did he say why?
No, he says New York State Parkways and Recreation.
Well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
No, he made it up because he didn't want to be
I should have
videotaped.
asked what section code.
I did, and he came back with an answer.
He did?
Yeah, and it's on my audio tape.